The Florida Everglades here. Yeah, I'm sure there are people who go there to vacation. I'm not so sure I would be trying to do that, but probably is a very comfortable place, hot and muggy if that's comfortable to you. Welcome back to American Sunrise, everyone. We appreciate you being here with us. It's time for today's health news, and it's sponsored by the folks over at the Wellness Company. Under the microscope today, new research finding that weight loss drugs could help beyond just shedding pounds. A study shows these medications may also reduce the symptoms of a painful skin condition called hidradenitis suppurativa. Some doctors call it a promising development that could help thousands of people who struggle with chronic flare-ups. These drugs, by the way, have already revolutionized weight management. Now they may improve quality of life in other ways. And that brings us to a new administration in Washington, D.C., which has brought a lot of positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. The reality is, however, that there's only so much the government can do. And if we really want to make America healthy again, it starts at home with each and every one of us. That's where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from their doctors all the time here on this network, and you know that their products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy. The Wellness Company gives you the opportunity to make sure that you're prepared for whatever happens with their series of prescription medical kits. Kits that contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the proper use of the medications inside. Additionally, the Wellness Company offers a variety of products from parasite cleanses to methylene blue to weight loss and so much more. All of these products can help you stay healthy and live a longer and more satisfying life. So make America healthy again, and it starts at home. Do your part and protect the health of you and your family. All you have to do is go to twc.health/RAV. Do that today and order. That's twc.health/RAV. Use the promo code RAV to save 10% on one of these kits right here. I've got one on the desk. We don't just tell you about them, we believe in them and we use them. For more on the health of America, let's bring in the CEO of the Wellness Company, Peter Gillooly. Pete, good to see you, my friend. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Terrence.
Always a pleasure. So look, Washington, D.C. has really been buzzing over the last week or so after Dr. Susan Montras was forced out as CDC Director. She was ousted and other medical bureaucrats seemed to follow suit. Apparently, she was forced out after disagreeing with RFK Jr.'s changes regarding the COVID-19 vaccine. So first of all, your reaction to her ousting.
I think it was an incredibly positive step, Terrence. I mean, Dr. Susan Montras hasn't actually practiced medicine in decades. She's been a career bureaucrat, as have many of the CDC leaders. And we need actual doctors back in charge of our medical system. I think for too long, we've had all these bureaucrats or these former big pharma executives come in and run our regulatory bodies, and they're not putting America's health first.
So do you see RFK Jr. having been right to issue new recommendations when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine?
It's an incredibly positive step, Terrence. I think your
Okay.
audience is, no strangers to the truth here about the COVID-19 vaccine. The data is not good. And I'm really encouraged that Trump has put out a tweet yesterday to try to get some of the truth out there in a balanced and just way. But I think we know for many years now that the COVID vaccine might harm much, much more than it actually helps. And I know RFK has, relegated the COVID vaccine use to, sensitive populations. But even then, I'd still have questions about its use. I think there's much better ways to keep yourself safe and healthy if you contract COVID as we go into cold and flu season here. So I'm very happy that RFK has been so outspoken about it. And I really think that America's kind of woken up to the travesty of safety that this vaccine is.
You mentioned President Trump getting data as it relates to the COVID-19 vaccines and its efficacy. Do you trust the data? Even from the CDC, from government agencies to the pharmaceutical companies that are making this, there are a lot of people, a lot of Americans, I think it's probably safe to say, who don't trust the data based on the sourcing.
Fair question, Terrence. And we all know that for years now, the FDA has kind of had their weight on the scale, so to speak, when it comes to pharmaceuticals efficacy data when they're using the data to approve drugs. But we just need transparency, good and bad. right? I'm not saying that the data is necessarily all bad, and it's certainly probably not all good either, but all the data deserves to be brought forward, and all the data exists, right? Even the VARS data, right? We've talked about this previously, Terrence, the vaccine safety records. It was all wiped from the system back in June of 2023. Why is that? I mean, it seems like a very suspicious cover up in the making here. So I think the American people deserve to have full transparency and see all the data about whatever the government is recommending people put in their bodies.
Is it a new day and age in your mind when it comes to vaccines, not just COVID vaccines, but all vaccines? Is RFK Jr. really kind of changing the paradigm in terms of how we critically look at vaccinations?
Great question, Terrence. I think it started well before RFK Jr. I think COVID
Okay.
really woke people up and actually had them take responsibility for their own health. Prior to that, we kind of followed our doctor's advice, which maybe wasn't the worst advice. But I think COVID really awoke a renewed interest in personal responsibility for our own health, and it led people to scrutinize even the childhood vaccine schedule. I mean, 72 shots, Terrence, before the age of 3. If you're a new parent now, I'd take a really critical look at, do my kids need all of those vaccines before the age of 3, especially for things like HPV, which is a sexually transmitted disease? I don't think so. So I think prior to RFK coming in, people really started raising their eyebrows and doing their own research when it comes to vaccines. And that's why I think we're seeing lower vaccination levels overall across the United States.
How do you suggest people go about it? And you kind of touched on this, but I'd like to dig a little deeper. How do you suggest people go about critically looking at these vaccines and deciding what's right for them and their families? What questions should one be asking? How do you start that process? You touched on it a little bit, but I think this is important. This is some real meat for our viewers.
It's really important. And I think there's one thing that viewers first need to understand is that there's only two types of drugs in the United States that doctors are actually financially incentivized legally by pharmaceutical companies to use. Those are cancer drugs, chemo, and vaccines, right? So your doctor, your pediatrician is incentivized to make sure that your child gets the full childhood vaccine schedule as recommended by the CDC. Now, so you might feel some pressure. I know I have as a parent to vaccinate my child. Do your own research. There is a ton of resources out there. You can go read Dr. McCullough's Substack, for instance, which has a ton of great critical data that actually looks at the efficacy of these vaccines. And we've seen a ton of data as well about linking vaccines to conditions like SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, right? Where infants suddenly die at night. This typically happens within 72 hours of taking a vaccine, most commonly. So I think people just really need to do their own research and go out and look. There are a ton of publications and resources out there that actually go through the safety data line by line, vaccine by vaccine. It can help you make the right decision for your family.
Peter Gillooly, great information, and we appreciate that. Always good to see you, my friend.
Thanks, Terrence.
All right, we'll talk soon. Coming up, the Capitol Police is slated to get rid of the DEI office. So how long has this been in the works? We've got the answers for you next here on American Sunrise.